Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
And we get the back view of him. And I mean, it's just a mega.
52 yards is a long shot. Magnum PI, what we named him. No idea.
Just a magnum.
Yeah, just a magnum.
Come on cam last year. We said probably 150, mid 150.
Yeah.
Same doe from the morning come out with that 9-pointer.
Here steps out this 90-inch 8-pointer. You're like,
I'm like, okay, well, there's still a buck back there grunting.
Yeah.
And then out steps like another 90-inch 8-pointer. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm like, deer right there.
Yeah, like
and he's already
yards.
30 yards.
Yeah.
He was literally 5 yards from the base of the tree. Could have been, had a buck down at 1:40 in the afternoon, back there deep on public. 3 does come out pretty early. It was like 245, 24-yard shot, sent the combat veteran, and I tell you what, man, dude, it just smoked. We always get so jacked up when the other person kills. It's just almost like we got it done.
Yeah. And when you killed that doe, I was like, hell yeah, man.
And we come down here to Missouri.
My ass homie one more time. I'm like, is it a good buck? And he goes, yeah, real good, solid buck. I'm like, all right, boom. And the deer just drops. Sure. Super special to me.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy. Baller Rut.
Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast, coming in your ear holes hard AF with the legend of the woods, and we're hitting you with 6 points on this legend.
That's a lot.
I know, that's a lot. Hitting you with a 6-pointer, went 138, dark chocolate, epic deer. Legend. Legends are all types. You know, it ain't got to be a giant mystical creature out there. Mm-hmm. It just got to be something cool and unique, like a 6-pointer. Like, I want this thing.
Thick
6-pointer. I want it. We're going to get to the people to make this possible, get right into the show. We're going to start off with Last Breath. We've been hitting you with the launch party, guys. This is coming up hot and heavy, fast, in your face. If you want to go, let us know. Message us, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you're on. Hit us up. You can send us an email if you ain't got any social, send us an email. We can get you a ticket to the show. Like you said, if you want to come and if you're out of state, let us know. Maybe we can get you a carpool. We got people coming from out of state. Maybe we can hook something up and get you guys to the show. It is absolute blast. With all the COVID shit that went on the last year, a lot of people didn't do shit or have events. So this is going to be epic. They didn't get to have it last year. They got all the hype from last year, the build-up. This is going to be a 2-year event. Shows, beer, free gear, the event, everything, guys. And then also we had a message of, how do I listen to these on Zoom? I was like, I thought everybody knows, but how do we watch the Zoom videos? Because we are recording all these podcasts that we're doing on Zoom now. It's epic. I don't know. We should have been doing this for I don't know how long, since the beginning. If you guys have a podcast and you're not Zooming, we like to give tips when we figure it out for other podcasts. Just buy the Zoom Pro. That's what we got, Zoom Pro, right? Yeah, buy the Zoom Pro. Spend the money. It's just more content, and it's cool to be able to look at the dude in the face that you're talking to. Really, really nice added feature that we weren't doing the first 3 years.
No, I'm looking at Cody the whole time.
Yeah, we're looking at Cody the whole time over here, flicking stuff back at each other.
I know, we can't be
focused in. But yeah, they are all on the Last Breath TV YouTube. So if you guys want to watch us podcast, see what we actually do, which is pretty simple. But it's if you like listening to podcasts and you got time to watch it on your TV, go over to Last Breath and check out all these legends. You're actually going to get to see the deer on the YouTube cover art too, which is kind of cool before you get into the story. Instead of if you just go to Apple and listen to us, you never really get to look for a picture of the deer.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully this late summer you'll be able to see us hunting on Last Breath TV
on
YouTube
Last
channel.
Breath TV too. Yep.
So.
All right. What do you got? You got Next Level this episode or no?
No, I got Exodus.
Okay, Exodus.
So it's getting ready to get really hot out there, and one thing Exodus offers is a solar panel for your trail cam. So go ahead and get you an Exodus render from Amazon Prime. That's what you need to do. And then you need to pair that with the SP18 solar panel.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to go out there and mess with any batteries. And
I seen something really solid. Chad was setting up one in Kansas while they were turkey hunting.
yeah.
I'm like, if you wanted to hunt out of state and you had one weekend to come up, and even if you say that you don't have an Exodus camera, right? If you bought one of those solar panels, you could hang that thing, be like, okay, I am legit good until I come back in November. This thing is going to take pictures and not run out. I'm going to put a 64 gigabyte card in this, and it's going to take pictures until I come back in November.
Yeah.
I feel like if you come all the way up here and you're like, all right, I'm going to put lithiums in, and you get burnt on,
A bullshit battery.
a bullshit battery like we've had, and it takes 12 pictures, and then you're coming back and you're staking so much of your intel on this one camera, and you go to pull that and you got 12 pictures, it's going to be devastating.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I have no idea what actually happened here. Do I hunt here? Do I go somewhere else? You have no data. But if you would have had a solar panel on there, even if it wasn't a mobile cam, at least you have that consistent data, because they were hanging one on a regular cam, and I was like, they're guaranteed when they go back to that they're going to have pictures. You know, they're going to have the content. So I thought that was awesome. And we don't have any of those. We don't have any solars.
No, we don't. We just like to buy batteries.
Yeah, we like to buy batteries like a mug. We start buying now because it's
Yeah.
If you buy them at once, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna take a loan out. All right, what do you got?
All righty. This week for Next Level, this week's tip from Nate is if you have been using a different mineral product previously, put the new product in the same site. And the deer are familiar with that spot for mineral, so they're going to, just associate that spot with having nutrition there available. So if you are switching products up for this year and getting it going, that is something to keep in mind, to just keep it in the same area, and that'll be the best for your
bang for your buck.
There you go.
All right, let's get right into it, guys. All right, we got Colton Eichelberger on, and we're having a little cell phone reception, but I got faith that this is going to be the one that we nail. How you doing tonight, man?
Good. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, appreciate having you on. Coming on. Appreciate having you on. Yeah.
This sounds rehearsed.
Yeah, this sounds rehearsed. Anyways, I had to have you on a legend. I seen your big one, giant brow tines. I'm a brow tine guy. It turns me on. But then I seen your 6-pointer. I was like, oh god, we got to talk about the 6-pointer, because you don't see very many 6s that thick. And remember that deer you called sausage links?
Oh, sausage rolls?
Yeah, it looks. I'm like, this is sausage rolls out there.
Right?
But yeah, I mean that 6-pointer absolutely blew my mind when I seen it. But just so the listeners can know, give them a brief introduction of who you are and what you do.
So I'm Colton Eichelberger. I'm from Paxton, Illinois. It's a very small town. For work, I travel around the world and drive monster trucks. I get paid to wreck and destroy stuff weekendly. And then when I'm at home, I do agriculture work and deer hunt and coyote hunt. And I kind of stick to those two things. I don't get too waterfowl crazy. But
nice. You ever race the incinerator?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ryan, he's my wife's cousin. Yeah. I got to see that truck and the tank multiple times. But yeah, I think he just sold it actually. I think he sold out. But his dad still has the tank that, they do the pre-shows with, but pretty cool gig he got going on there. So
yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, he breaks it out sometimes with the little short wheels on and does some donuts and stuff for us. I'm like, yeah, the short wheels are fire. The travel wheels are awesome. Right. Things got hella horsepower with those on.
Right.
So, yeah, you can't beat that. Driving around, ramping stuff, crushing cars. That's like every little boy's dream gig right there. So, and you kill a giant whitetail in your free time. So, but
right.
I mean, you killed a 6-pointer.
Pretty cool gig.
Yeah. How? What do you say the 6-pointer scored? 138 or?
Yep, 138.
Man, that's absolute giant.
Yeah, he was. He kind of. Yeah, he blew a lot of people's minds with the score, but it's one of them deer that it's just so when you hold it in your hand, it's it kind of blows your mind that it's just a 6-pointer.
Yeah, yeah, it's got mass and it's got it all. It's wide for a 6-pointer. It's tall. So when I seen it, I'm like, man, that thing is just gnarly. And I love that it's dark chocolate. I like those dark chocolate, those racks. They just absolutely beautiful. And I don't know why they get them. I wish I knew why, because that's the only thing. If they were like, you got to have a needy pine out there, I'd be like, all right, we're playing 300 needy pine. Whatever it takes to get the chocolate. That's what I want. But go ahead and let us know on the story. I read the post. It seems like it was a long hunt after this deer. So go ahead and rip right into the story.
Yeah. So just like any year, I mean, like we all do, we build up till October. We're ready to go. And I would say I'm not a guy that sits at home and waits till November to come around. So obviously by the time October rolled around, I went every chance I could get. And a little backstory on this deer is he grew up and was always a 6-pointer. Ever since that 2.5 years old, he was a 6-pointer and he just never changed. But towards the end of this deer's life, the last couple of years, which would have been 3 or 2 years before I killed him, I found one of the sheds to him finally. And he was actually a big 6 then. Like he wasn't just your regular 6-pointer. Like the mass started showing, the tine length, the width. I mean, he kind of surprised you, but still at that point, he was never on a hit list, maybe a coal buck list or, and I'm not a guy to go out and shoot every 8-pointer with no brow tines, because I don't think he's going to be anything. I kind of believe some of that's hit or miss, but so, if the opportunity arose, I probably wasn't going to take him that year. And then 2019, the first time I seen him with no photographs on trail camera, I seen him shotgun season, and I was in the truck. I was driving down the road past one of the neighbors' properties, probably 2 miles away from where I hunt. And a buddy with me was like, yeah, that's a crazy big deer. I'm like, oh, that's the 6-pointer, that's, he's a nice deer, but he wasn't, he's nothing special. And my buddy actually named, he said, that's my deer. I'm going to kill that deer. And he, just tickled shitless to kill a mature deer. And at that point he was 4 years old. Yeah. 2019 had been 4. So then he disappeared, gone, nothing, no sign of him. Well, come shed season, I wasn't really looking for his sheds, of course. I mean, they'd be cool to find, but it's not like you pinpoint or set out a certain spot to find his sheds. So I never found his sheds until late March, which is late around here because where I hunt, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of human pressure. So typically, a lot of my deer sheds are found January, February, a lot in February because of the pressure. They drop earlier. It differs in a lot of areas. But I found them in March, and when I found them, they were laying the right side laying down, and the left side was on top of it. So from about 60 yards away, it looked like a ginormous, non-typical shed.
You run up there,
and,
damn,
at that
6-pointer
point,
got me.
Yeah. But at that time, I wasn't like mad. I was like, holy crap, that deer, put on some characteristic. And while all this was going on, the past couple of years I just talked about, a buddy of mine had this deer on camera exactly 2.5 miles away, but I was not getting many pictures of him. And so he kind of home ranged pretty tight to that 2.5 mile corridor or 2.5 miles away on a 30-acre patch. And so, it kind of never really got once I figured out that was his home range, it kind of never really got in my hopes that I could kill him. And obviously him being a 6-pointer, I had different hit listers. I mean, I had 2 or 3 other bucks that I was probably going to take before that deer. And then 2020 rolls around, 2020 rolls around, and my buddy gets a picture of this deer in velvet, and he's like, dude, look at that. Look at this freaking 6-pointer. This thing is huge. And I was like, yeah, big 6-pointer, yeah. But then he's still a big deer. I mean, it's a great deer, but the problem I had that year was that I had a 180 class buck that I was chasing after. So like back to where I started in October, I'm hunting as much as I can because I have this 180-inch buck daylight, and he's acting like a 3.5-year-old buck or 3-year-old buck, just daylight nonstop in early October in this heat, and the crops are still up, and he's just wandering around like, I got to kill this deer. So I hunted really hard for that deer, and probably sometimes too much. If that, I'm sure you guys have talked about it before, is you can overhunt a deer and kick him out of the area. But I was being really smart about all my moves. Never hunt on the wrong wind, but if I had a wrong wind, I'd sit across the farm and, scout the field that he'd been coming out in. But I was chasing that deer really hard. And come November, I had opportunities at 100 yards at that deer, 80 yards, 40 yards. Early November, he ran by me chasing a doe, could never get a shot. And, just kind of is killing my hopes of killing that deer, which it shouldn't have been. But that's the point in the year when people start laying down big bucks. And, as hunters, we kind of just get that drive when your buddy kills a big buck. You're like, man, I got to get me,
You're watching Facebook. You're like, dude, everybody but me has killed a deer by now.
Everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it got, man. And I didn't let that get to me, but I started slipping out after work and either glassing from the road, or if I had a good wind, man, I was booking it back to the stand to get that last 2-hour hunt in. And that deer, the deer I was after kind of just disappeared. He just went nocturnal. He was still on camera, but he was heavy nocturnal early November, which was really weird. And it wasn't weird. It was just weird because he was daylight in October. So it didn't get my hopes down. I still hunted super hard, just waiting for that one time he made a mistake. But some random, just one random day after work, I was like, I'm gonna go hunting, and I got a good wind. I'm gonna go sit, and I did. And I got to my stand, and I don't remember which day in November exactly it was I killed this deer. It was like the 11th or 12th. And, which 11th or 12th, after you talk or listen to all the pros, 11th or 12th, their favorite days are the 7th, 8th, 9th, or, 3rd, 4th, and 5th or whatever, which I try not to. You can't always listen to what you hear online either. But anyways, I was hunted hard through all those days. And then I just randomly went out there after work one day, and I, no shit, got in my stand and hung my bow up and got everything situated. And I heard a loud grunt right behind the stand. And I turned around, and there's this 6-pointer at about 35 yards. And I'm like, I just got up in the stand, hung my bag up, didn't think anything of it. And this deer is walking right behind me. And I'm like, what? And then, I looked at through my binos at 30 yards, and I'm like, holy shit. What in the hell is this deer doing here? And the funny thing is like I said, that deer had a home corridor of 2.5 miles away. And I'm like, this is mind blowing at the moment. So he kind of started walking away from me, and I just did the lightest grunt that I could do. And he turned on a dime and walked out at 25 yards. And I shot him and blew through his shoulder, and it actually knocked him over right there. And then he got up and ran about 70 yards and died right in the middle of the field. And it's just, it was meant to be, but it was way more likely that my buddy was going to kill him because he was home ranging on his ground 2.5 miles away. And to have the sheds to these deer that I found, 2.5 miles away from my hunting property, because, obviously we all have our different shed hunting properties by landowners. We each get permission, whatever. And the permission I had was right next to my buddies. And I found, 3 of the, 6 or 7 or 8 sheds that he would have dropped in his lifetime, and then kill him 2.5 miles away from his home range. And then, to put the cherry on the top, my buddy had a picture of that 6-pointer the night before 2.5 miles away. Oh, and that's doing some work. I've heard crazier stories, but that's chasing some tail.
Yeah, for sure. Was it mostly ag ground that he was covering? ripping across. You're in Illinois, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It was ag ground with hedgerows. There's hedgerows and small ditches between us. But I mean, if he had to walk through backyards, I mean, to take that sort of path, and I mean, I got an idea what path he took, but I mean, he had to walk between 5 or 6 houses, backyards to do what he did in that amount of time. I mean, I know that deer travel a lot of ground, but just crazy to come back and shoot that deer. And then the night before, 24 hours before, he was 2.5 miles away. There must have been a good smelling tail running through there.
It seems like in my past, I'm always like, man, these deer don't go that far. But the more I, hear people talk and the more shit we see hunting, we're like, dude, these deer rip.
We're getting up over 5, 6, 7, 8 deer that we've had documented on trail cam going over 2 miles.
Yeah, like in a night. It's 2 miles and then coming back. We're like, what the hell? Like, and you think walking a mile, but you're just thinking, why? What is he going all the way up there to do? Unless they're just ripping to rip. Like, they're just full of testosterone. You're like, all right, I'm going south. Here we go. Let's see what we can get into. That's the only thing I could think. Because you, as a whitetail hunter, you're like, okay, why is this deer doing this? And I think a lot of times he's just ripping when they're that far. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, there's a doe he remembers from the year before. That's two. I mean, that better be a banging doe. Like 2.5 mile jog for one. When you probably passed 30 there. You're like, I got to get that doe from last year. She was fire. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think they're just like running. Just and he'd been down there, or you had pictures of, or you found sheds up by him. Did you ever see him on your farm?
Yeah.
You did. Okay, I was wondering if this was like the first time he'd been there or if he'd been there before.
No, he was 2 years before I shot him. He would have been probably, I never got the teeth aged, but, from what I've seen on trail camera and sheds, I'm guessing he's 6.5. So I would say when he was 3.5, I had him on camera when he was just a regular 6-pointer. I mean, he was a big 6-pointer, but he was just a regular 6-pointer. And, it kind of all comes back to when people talk about the older they get, the narrower their home range is, which is true because it's through where we hunt and my buddies all hunt around me. We've come to realize that it may be true. The older they get, the smaller their home range is. And I firmly believe that unless something like happens, like in this situation, to where, like you guys said, why did this deer travel 2.5 miles? Was it a hot piece of ass, or was he, what was he doing? Was he just full of testosterone and just checking and not stopping?
Yeah. I know that when we were talking to Spartan Forge about, deer tracking, they said that a lot of deer just go on their 1 year journey. Like they just go somewhere for a few days and they come back. So maybe he was just coming down there like that's what he normally did, and you were just there this year. He just ran down there a certain time of year and was like, all right, time to make my trip. I bred my doe up here, and now I'm going to make a trip down there and see some new territory. Right. You're getting a bad street rep up the does up here. You got to get out of the county.
Right.
Head down.
It's just a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah. But, I mean, for him to go that far. But like you said, you're just out there, just kept hunting, and you said that buck that you were after was kind of blanking you, but you never know what can happen. You just got to be out there, and you could be after one legend and another legend comes in. So
did that buck ever show any aggressive tendencies on cam, or any time that you guys had seen him, in order for you to grunt at him, or are you just giving the old classic last ditch effort? Oh, I got to grunt.
Yeah. No, he actually, one of the neighbors called him the bully buck because he was always whenever we seen him. See, I forgot part of the story. After the first year I seen him with the buddy, and they said, oh, that's my buck. The second year on gun season, 2.5 miles away. And this is like, I mean, there's a 40-acre patch of timber that's, on the east side of the road. And on the west side of the road, there's a small hedgerow with a creek ditch that runs right up to it. And that second year that I found, the year before I shot him, that I found his sheds, I seen him again during gun season in my truck, leaving my spot for the second year in a row. bedded up on the ditch bank of the creek, like 30 yards off the road, tending a doe. And that's the neighbor kind of got that because that's not too far from his house. So the neighbor kind of got that name for him from just the way he acted around his does. You know, no one could really fuck with him. He when he had his doe, it was, you could sit there 30 yards off the road and look at him and look at the doe, and he kind of just stood up and look at you like, what the hell are you guys gonna do? You know? But yeah, he had and actually that's how I'm getting him mounted, is kind of with his head tilted down like he's getting ready to fight, just because of honestly the neighbor naming him the bully buck. But he's just got one of those racks that looks like, man, if I went to fight you, it's like bringing a knife to a hand fight. You know,
it's like that sketch guy. You're like, dude, that guy looks strong as hell, kind of sketchy. I'm gonna probably, like a clean 10. You're like, that guy's clean cut. He's solid, but he's got kids. He's clean cut. This guy's like the no kid guy that you're like, this guy's
the sketchy part is
he's
what
a black card. You know what's going on. But we hear that a lot about the bucks that are kind of like, they don't have like the basic
superior genetics.
Yeah, they're just more like
they gotta
rough.
Fight.
They gotta fight their way to the top. Because in theory, you would think a doe would want to breed with the best genetics, and she'd be like, man, I don't know.
Right.
You ain't tricking my trigger.
You're only a 6-pointer,
You're
bro.
only a 6-pointer. I need more points than that. Oh, if only we knew what they were thinking when they were breeding. No, that's what we need.
I'd like to just think like all the time. Yeah. Then I'll be able to kill them a little bit more.
Yeah. What are you thinking all the time, man?
Why are you just cruising around at 2 a.m, 2.5 miles away from where you need to be?
Yeah. You're safe up there. What are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing down there? It's a bad idea.
You're gonna get shot. Keep slipping.
So after you shot the buck, I'm sure you told the buddy, and he showed you that picture. He was probably blown away that you had shot him the day. He was probably going out like, all right, this guy's still my property. I got a chance. Gets a text message like, oh, I got him, bro.
Yeah. So that's the funny part is I after I shot him, I didn't really tell anybody right away, but it was like 3:15. So it was 2 hours before dark still, because it was so quick. And I finally texted my buddy, and I'm like, hey, I need help getting a deer. And he's like, which deer is it? And I'm like, dude, I have no idea. I don't know. I think he's a 10-pointer. I don't know. He's big. I shot him, and he died right in the field. He died in the creek's what I told him. I'm like, man, we need help. And so I went to the road, and he come about an hour later, and it got dark, and I pulled up to him. I'm like, oh, there he is. Yeah, I need help, getting him up. And he got out, and he's like, what in the fuck? But the funny part is, it's like he didn't have another buck on that 40-acre parcel that he was going to shoot that year. So he's like, what the hell am I supposed to shoot now? I'm like, I guess one of my deer might travel 2.5 miles to you. I don't know.
You got to start talking sweet out there or something. Get him to come back down south. So,
Right. You're the one that scared him out.
Yeah, I shot a buck 2 shotgun seasons ago, and we had a 1.5 mile confirmed trail cam picture, and he broke a brow and lost an eye on the way down. So he got his ass kicked on the way down. He was clean up there, got down here, it was a little rough, and that's how I like him.
Yeah,
I shot him on the blind eye side. That's the only way I made it happen.
You did too.
Oh, you had too much advantage over the
I
poor
did.
deer.
Yeah, I didn't know his eye was blind. He was out there.
Peter's calling your ass.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of those deer you're like, I told him, I shot this deer.
Oh, yeah.
And then we get up there, I'm like, oh, no, it's this deer. And then we get him home, I'm like, no, it's not that deer. Some random deer. There was 3 different deer I killed the same day.
Deer had 3 different names.
Yeah. I shot Chaos. No, I shot Bud Light. No, I shot some random deer. Oh. Yeah, man, it's crazy how they can just traverse, and like it just goes back to you just got to be out there hunting. And sounds like, I mean, did you ever end up running back into that 180 last year, or is he still out there scooting around?
No, that's the worst part of the story. Downfall. He started daylighting about 5 days after that, which that night, knowing me, I went and got a tag. I'm sure I did. Got another bow tag. And I kept hunting him, but he started daylighting not far after I shot that deer again. but it just he never had a consistent pattern. He fed in the same field, but it's a 240 acre field. So that's surrounded by timber. So it's just kind of one of those wishing games that his bed's in this 80 acre parcel right here, but getting on the right trail that he's going to come out on. And being that big of an ag field, I have a food plot, but it's just that big of a field. You just really can't tell what they're going to be feeling for supper. So
yeah, it's hard to compete. People are like, you got to plant food plots, but I'm like, dude, I got a 60 acre cornfield over here. I can't compete with that,
Right.
So
right. And that was tough figuring out which, trying to get on him. And I don't know how long it was, but first gun season, my wife went out and sat in the same stand I killed that 6-pointer. And I was out gun season for the opening night, and she texted me and she's like, you wouldn't believe how many deer are walking behind me coming out in the field. I'm like, that's great, because when when rut starts happening around here, I'm sure it's the same in a lot of places, once they start coming out in the field, it feels like it's just one after another. Bam, bam, bam. Then you got your crazy, 2-year-old buck running behind you, just everywhere. But, and then she texts me and I'll never forget it. She's like, yeah, there's a really, really big one behind me that's got a lot of points, women and their descriptions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you have a shot? And she's like, no, it's 50 yards in the woods. I don't have a shot. And then I get the worst text message of all. It's walking towards the neighbors. And I'm like, oh God. And about 5 minutes later, boom. And she texts me and she goes, they just shot whatever buck that was. He died right where they shot him. I can see him. And I'm like,
oh man,
you're going to make me sick. So then I'm like, instantly just figured it was him. I'm like, well, he's dead. So I just kind of got sick to my stomach a little bit. I'm like, God, what are the odds? The neighbors who only gun hunt for 3 days in first season and 4 days in second season, it's usually not even that much. Don't step foot in their property. Don't check their stands. It's just kind of how it plays out sometimes. And I completely get that if that's how it does it. But they show up opening day and the guy sitting right on the property line knocks down the 180-inch buck that I've been chasing.
Yeah.
And it was my wife walked over there and talked to him and looked at it, and she's like, you need to come see this thing. And I was like, I don't think I want to. I don't even I'm happy as shit that they got it, but I don't think I want to. But I ended up going over there and congratulating them and talking to him a little bit. And he was a stud. I had a shed to him the year before, and he was an absolute stud, and he taped right out at 180 and 2/8.
Nice.
And and that's how that goes.
we were hunting a giant a few years ago, and the guys that are on a fence line, they're from Pennsylvania. They only come down in gun season, and they always kill the biggest deer because they literally got the best property with nobody on it. And we were out at the local bar, and they were like, "We missed a legend," and I was like, "Oh my God." I'm like, there's only one deer that I would consider a legend that I know about anywhere, and then I killed him the next day. So like that deer, you think about it, that deer could have been missed the day before I killed him by some guy from Pennsylvania. Right. I was hunting a mid 180s 8-pointer. Like I tell people that, and they're like, bullshit. I got the proof, and they killed him. I was like, oh God. I got the text message, and he was holding it. I was like, oh God. Never again in my life will I have the opportunity to hunt a 184 8-pointer and have sheds off of them and have an encounter the year before with her at a bow. Like and then first day of gun season, guys from Pennsylvania just down here just smashing.
Wiped him.
I'm like, good for you, bro. And then, he's holding them. I'm like, God, dark chocolate rack, giant brows, like my 100 go-to, what I like, and gone. But I got it in on him on the other one. So it's just crazy. Yeah, it's just crazy. You could be just right on the edge of killing those deer, and you got to deal with the guy who goes out there and gun hunts. That's just part of it. So they got the right to be out there just as much as we do. But it hurts when you've been hunting that deer for a long time, and they come in and get it the first day. You're like, you always hear that guy like, just went out, man, hadn't hunted like 30 minutes all year setting my stand, and I shot a 170. I'm like, dude, what about me? What's my turn? I need that to happen to me one time. Just the 170 in October. Yeah, I'm done, man. I'm solid for the year.
Yep. Nope. I get that. They're usually, most of the time, their stories are like, yeah, man, I climbed down my 5-foot ladder stand and took a piss, and I seen him about 200 out there, so I just swung one, and well, I dropped him. Yeah,
made it happen out there. So
yeah,
I feel you.
Great, congratulations. I'm happy for you. But at the same time, what the fuck?
I think it's funny. Your wife's out there hunting, and she's seen a confirmed 180 on the hoof, and trying to describe it to you, and just like, yeah, it's got a lot of points.
Yeah,
but
that would be my wife.
I
I've seen a pretty good one, but what's a pretty good one?
Yeah,
had a lot of points. I'm like, okay, now we got to figure this out.
Yeah, my wife's gonna start hunting this year, and I think she's gonna overshoot on like saying how good is it. Like she's probably gonna pass up a solid buck that she should probably shoot.
Yeah.
Just because she wants, something bigger, I'm just like, no, like if it's got antlers, your ass needs to shoot it.
Yeah. 6-pointer.
Get something down.
Yeah, don't give her the rule that it has to have 4 points or more on each side, because I've seen some big 6-pointers.
Yeah, thank God we're not in the 4-point restriction county. You'd be like, come on, guys. I got this giant out here. Can't even take a poke. So.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on. We'll let you get out of the mosquitoes outside and get inside. We appreciate you coming on and telling your story of the giant 6-pointer, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's very cool.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this Legend of the Woods. Don't get much bigger of a 6-pointer. We got a buddy that's got a bigger, close to Zach
what is
Page.
that score?
I don't know. It's like 30 inches wide.
I was going to say, the 30
hell wide. But that's the only other 6-pointer I know that's like that big. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you picked up some kind of tactic. This guy, he was outside walking around having some signal problems. So if you hear any blips in this episode, we're sorry about that, but doing the best we can to bring you guys this content. Like we always say, do the right thing, leave a legacy, and Whitetail Legacy is out.